Hey, it's another edition of the Time Blueprint. And on today's show, we're going to get some financial wisdom from some unlikely places, like Kim Kardashian, perhaps, Charles Barkley, Rosie O'Donnell, even, Mike Tyson. We got a couple of different interesting quotes and pieces of advice from these folks. We're going to apply it to your financial life. And there's actually some hidden wisdom in these. So this will be fun. Let's get to it.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Time Blueprint with Frank Oliver of Oliver Asset Management. Here we break down taxes, income, money, and estate planning, giving you the tools to make informed financial decisions and aim for better retirement outcomes. Your host is financial advisor Frank Oliver, the president and founder of Oliver Asset Management. He's the author of Your Time Is Now, sharing the essentials you need to know to craft a comprehensive and customized retirement plan. Dive in with us as we offer clear strategies and straightforward advice, all designed to empower you in your financial journey. Welcome to the Time Blueprint.
Frank, this should be fun.
It's going to be a good time.
We know you're a great place to turn to for financial guidance,
right?
But we're going to go to some celebrities on today's show and see what Kim Kardashian and some other folks can teach us about retirement planning. How does that sound?
This will be interesting. I'm looking forward to this. So,
All right, here's how it's going to work. I've got some interesting quotes from celebrities, and I want you to turn it into financial wisdom that's applicable to folks planning for retirement or just trying to get better with their finances.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to start with Lindsay Lohan, definitely an unlikely source for financial wisdom. She's had her ups and downs in the celebrity world, of course. Yep. But that has given her a little wisdom and insight into her own life. She once said, "I'm my own worst enemy, and I know that."
Right.
People have often been told you're your own worst enemy. She actually saying, "I know I'm my own worst enemy," and it hopefully has helped her as she's kind of rehabbed her image and tried to get back on track a little bit in life. So spin that into some financial wisdom for us.
I've actually heard that same exact comment from prospects coming into the office that they're scared of the markets when things start to seem a little uncertain. They've always sold at the wrong spot. They've always re-entered the market at the bad spots. They purchase things they shouldn't have. And, a lot of folks I've heard that comment on several occasions. That's, I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to this. And I think in a lot of situations that, people call us financial planners, investment representatives, there's a lot of different titles in our industry, but I think in a lot of situations we need to be focused on or viewed more as a coach, keeping people from being their own worst enemy and making these bad decisions. Cause, there's events that happen economically and some tragedies, in our world that cause, the markets to fluctuate and people do become their own worst enemies about timing the market, getting in at the wrong time, getting out at the wrong time, making purchases they shouldn't, just making some incorrect decisions. So, we've seen it all, we've heard it all, and we've helped people through a lot of those situations. So it's easy to be your own worst enemy, especially when you're an emotional person. So I get that.
Having an advisor or a coach to help keep you in check and kind of say, hey, you're being your own worst enemy right now.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't get that insight. Like Lindsay Lohan didn't have that insight earlier in her life.
That's right.
It took a lot of mistakes and problems before she discovered that, most likely. In the financial world, we don't want to have to go through that growing pain.
That's right. And I think a lot of folks are, I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, but maybe just private or maybe embarrassed is the right word to ask for financial guidance or to ask for help with their finances. And, if you look at some of the best athletes out there, which we're going to get to down here later on the list, but some of the best athletes out there have always had a coach. Right? Who's one of the greatest golfers of all time, or the greatest golfer of all time.
Tiger Woods
still has a coach, I think.
Still has a coach.
Right? Exactly. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of athletes, let's get to one here. This was Charles Barkley. And this is pretty interesting. "I don't create controversies," Barkley said. "They're there long before I open my mouth. I just bring them to your attention."
And he's good about bringing stuff to your attention.
He is.
Yes, he is good.
Yes.
He's a very vocal person.
Very.
Yeah, he's great.
Very charismatic on the air. What the financial relevance here?
I don't create controversies. They're always there. I just bring them to your attention. Right?
Financial controversy, the nation.
I think one of the biggest financial controversies that I hear is, I want to pay cash for a car. I want to pay cash for an RV. Should I pay off my mortgage? And there's just some controversies where people are, it's inherent in our thought process if we're responsible investors and we're just responsible with our money, not to carry debt.
Sure.
And I have to have a conversation on a regular basis when an individual wants to go buy a $50,000 car and pay cash. And I don't think people see into the future a lot on this. But that $50,000 car you buy today, how much is that going to be worth in 5 years? It's going to be worth $25,000 if you're lucky, right?
Someone who bought a car 2 years ago and now sees what that proposed value is of that car.
Absolutely right. Yeah, you get it, right? But if you take that same $50,000, now you're going to have to pay interest on the loan to do this. But what's that $50,000 going to be worth in 5 years or 10 years? It should double in 10 years. That car is going to be worth pennies on the dollar in 10 years. So instead of taking that money, paying cash for a car, don't be scared to spend a little bit of interest, because the money that you make on that compounding effect of that $50,000 continually being invested for 5 or 10 years, you're going to turn that 50 into 100, and that car is going to be worth $10,000.
Yeah.
So don't, I see people, at the lake that we belong to, really proud that they paid cash for their boat. Some of those boats are $200,000-$300,000, know, and it's easy to turn that $200,000 or $300,000 into $50,000 in a boat. They do depreciate. So those are some of the controversial conversations that we have. Is it's not necessarily irresponsible to look at using your balance sheet more efficiently.
Interesting. That you view that as part of your job, though, right? Like,
absolutely.
Let's look at what maybe you assume should be the case in the financial world. I'm not creating this issue. I can broaden that out, even thinking about just like an economic issue.
Sure.
Like, hey, I'm not creating the problem of inflation, but I've got to point it out to you. And We've got to deal with it in your plan. We can't stick our head in the sand.
Right. Inflation's going to be here. Unemployment's going to, rear its head from time to time. There's always events that are taking place. So there's always controversies, but
All right. Good one there, Charles. Let's pull up Rosie O'Donnell's quote here. Anybody that you put on TV for 5 hours a week is going to say something stupid at some point. That's pretty good wisdom from old Rosie there.
Is Rosie ever said anything stupid on TV?
Yes. Yes. I would.
Didn't she botch the national anthem or something? Was that Rosie that did that? So I think that was her.
Might have been her.
She doesn't sing though.
No. Was she the one that did the awful version of it?
I think it was. Yeah. She kind of.
I'll fact check that.
Yeah, you should fact check that. Yeah, because I don't want to be one of those dumb people on TV.
Yeah.
Or say something dumb. No dumb people on TV. Sometimes they just.
We're not on for 5 hours a week, and I feel like we're pretty susceptible to saying something dumb occasionally.
Absolutely. Right. For you.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Exactly. So I think that's pretty obvious, but, it makes total sense because there's a lot of financial media out there, even on the national scale, and they've got to fill 24 hours of talking and time a day on their channels.
You got to read between the lines a lot, or listen between the lines, I guess, when you listen to these commentators on TV, the talking heads, as they're known as. And there's a lot of great information out there, but you do hear some controversial information coming, from these television show hosts. And, I'll listen to a couple different, shows when I'm, hearing different opinions about the economy and interest rates and unemployment and where to invest your money. And, one of the greatest financial entertainers out there is Jim Cramer, but a lot of people says he says they're entertainer. Exactly. Yeah. And so he may say some things that people don't agree with from time to time as well.
So know that. Be careful with that.
Yes.
It was Roseanne Barr who did
Roseanne Barr. There you go.
Gosh, I get the two confused. Roseanne O'Donnell and Roseanne Barr. All right, let's get to another athlete here. This is from Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson, this is a famous quote of his, had to include this one. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That's right, yeah.
Same thing in the financial world?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Mike Tyson's definitely been punched in the mouth a few times, hasn't he?
Yes.
He's gone through his ups and downs. So I kind of respect his comeback that he's got going on right now. Yeah, we've had a weird year where we've actually had some friends that their children have passed away and clients that their children have passed away. And the first word out of their mouth is, it's really unfortunate when your kids go before you do, And we just saw a situation where this comes into estate planning, where there just wasn't good estate planning set up in these situations. And they got a condo that's being rented. So it's an investment property, and people are not paying rent. And so now they have to be evicted. Wow. And so now the beneficiary has to try to evict, but the beneficiary doesn't own their property and they can't evict. And now there's, some uncertainty if they can afford to make the payment on that property plus the other property, and if they can't legally evict. So there's always times that you're just going to run into these challenges in life. And unfortunately, I think we don't think those situations or those challenges are going to happen to us.
Yeah.
And they're not going to happen tomorrow. We got time to figure this out. And it just, I've seen so many challenges in this industry, and I've seen so many people get punched in the mouth, get punched in the face. And it's unfortunate. So if you don't weave and bob like Tyson does, when he's in a good fight, you just gotta make sure that your guard's up and that you do have a good plan in place, because otherwise those challenges are going to hurt much worse if you don't have a good plan.
It's a good spot to remind folks that if you don't have a great financial plan, or if you're looking for some great financial wisdom, you don't have to find it in the quotes of these celebrities. Actually, a great resource to point you to would be Frank's book. If you want to hold that up, Frank,
sure.
The folks who are watching the video. We've got The Time Is Now. This takes you through and tells you a little bit about the blueprint process. You hear us talk about it all the time here on the show. We've got taxes, income, money and estate planning. Yep. So that's going to be covered in the book. There's lots of pearls of wisdom in there to help you learn a little bit more about the financial world. We're going to give away some free copies of the book. So just contact us through the website. You're going to see that on your screen. There's a link to it in the description of today's show as well, where it says, get my free book. Just click on that and you can order a free book. The first 10 people who see it on this show and request it will give you a free book to check out, read, and learn a little bit more about the planning process and just get some free financial education that way. So thanks for writing that book for us, Frank.
Oh, absolutely.
Giving away some free.
It's quite a project. I really enjoyed it, actually.
That's awesome.
That's a great project. Yep.
Redefine your retirement with Oliver Asset Management. Experience the impact of our time blueprint process. Taxes, income, money, and estate planning. Book a free 30-minute strategy session with Frank Oliver. Propel your retirement goals forward with a strategic plan tailored to your ambitions. Click the link in the description to schedule your free strategy session today.
All right, we've got a few more celebrity quotes to give you folks. This next one, did you ever see the show Jersey Shore?
I never watched it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, a little too.
It's pretty crazy.
It's not necessarily my personality.
Yeah. I was in college when Jersey Shore came out, so it was really big in college at the time.
Sure.
Like everybody
was popular.
Watching it and laughing about it, making fun of it. Well, the famous person from that show, I guess, the most famous was Snooki, which you probably heard the name even if you haven't seen the show. In any event, she said at some point, "I don't need validation from anyone. I know my worth." And she probably, I'm just guessing, she probably said that in a platform of just like trying to be outlandish and talking about partying probably, or after looking some guy's eyes or something like that. Yeah. But we're going to spin it into great financial advice, and there's something there for people to kind of focus on a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's, I think her quote is interesting, and maybe we should know our own worth, right? Maybe we shouldn't judge or try to second guess what our worth is. And I guess looking at it from that perspective, have I saved enough money in retirement? Do I know my own worth? Right. So maybe not take it from a Snooki perspective, being a little pretentious, but maybe just sit back and say, do I know my worth? Right.
Yeah.
And do I feel comfortable about my retirement? If you don't know your worth, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be your net worth, but just your confidence in retirement, knowing, just understanding the financial challenges that you have to deal with in retirement, just understanding some of those components. But yes, also understanding your worth. Where's your debt? Where are my assets? When am I going to retire? All of those components build your worth, right?
Yeah.
And you have to have some worth to retire.
Yeah.
It is an interesting world that we need to have dollars to retire. And so you do have to know your worth. So maybe her comment is more applicable than we think.
I like your focus.
His comment is more applicable than we think.
No, you had it right.
You haven't watched the show all good.
Snooki, I guess, is a name you could just, it's kind of a made up name.
Right. So you go either way, right? Especially in this day and age.
I like how you focused on the tail end of that quote, the I know my worth. I look at the front end of the quote. I don't need validation from anyone. That external validation, it just speaks to me of that sort of keeping up with the Joneses mentality. And just look at your own situation. And don't worry if your neighbor's got the hot stock or the neighbor got the new boat. If that's not a goal of yours and it doesn't need to be, then don't get caught in that comparison.
Trying to keep up with the Joneses is just not a good financial plan.
Yeah.
It really isn't. You need to be happy with yourself.
Yeah. And that dovetails into that know your worth.
Absolutely. Yes. You have to be happy with what you've accomplished.
All right. We're down to our final two quotes here. This next one's from Kim Kardashian, who, to be fair, I put her in this list of like unlikely financial wisdom. And this would apply to a few of the other folks on this list, like Shaquille O'Neal. I think Charles Barkley probably been pretty successful financially in their lives. Yeah. And is whatever you want to say about the Kardashians, like they know how to make money.
Yes, they do.
Lots of different ways. So, but it's still kind of an unlikely source for retirement wisdom, I suppose. But I do want to give credit where credit's due. Kim Kardashian said, "I will always believe in love, but my idea has changed from what I've always thought." So the definition of love has changed in her mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Does that spark any financial wisdom to you?
When I was reading this, preparing for you to come down and help me with this podcast interview, interview me, a lot of these questions at me. I actually kind of thought of myself
Really?
on this. Absolutely. Yeah. So, growing up, I was always scared of being poor. So I was always a very big saver. I was always very good with my money. I was always a good investor. And I strived really hard to work on those components. And I think as you go through life, you struggle with that, making sure that you have enough money to retire. And then I think I've kind of gone through this transition where, like, you know what? I've had some friends that have passed away recently, not too much older than me. So you start to focus on your new love, maybe enjoying life, creating a little bit more of a work-life balance and saying, is saving and having this money, having too much money, is that everything? And I think I do see people that maybe oversave, maybe they save a little bit too much and they're never going to get around to enjoying that amount of net worth. Or on the, on the flip side of that, maybe there's people out there that have enjoyed life a little bit too much and maybe they need to start saving, So kind of when I was reading over this, I kind of looked at myself saying, I don't know if I want to be the client that has sacrificed their entire life, saving money, and now they don't have the ability to enjoy it. So I think cool. Seeing that, I think that's where people start to change, just that focus.
So our personal relationships change over time, but so should our relationship and attitudes toward money and finances. And
absolutely
be open to those changes because it's a natural thing to happen.
It's one of the biggest conversations that come up in my office is, have I saved enough? How much more do I want to save? And, trying to figure out what they can do in retirement. And it's that work-life balance. And you gotta be cognitive of that. So,
okay. Very cool.
All
right. Last quote. That quote's from Shaquille O'Neal, a great entertainer out there these days. Of course, an amazing basketball player in his day. And I think this is a perfect one to end with, right?
Yeah.
I never worry about the problem. I worry about the solution.
And awesome quote.
Pretty good guiding light.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it kind of goes back to, the controversies that we talked about before. There's always got to be problems, right? So, I mean, you're going to have government problems. You're going to have, the darn pandemic that came down on us. There's black swan events. We got an election that, no matter what side you're on, that people think it's going to be a problem. Exactly, But what I've realized in my 23 years of planning and just my life in general is there's always a solution to the problem. There's never a problem that cannot be solved, or at least, working in, towards that direction. So, I hear people talking about, the government taking over our retirement accounts and, the election's going to be a problem with the economy. And just, there's just so much uncertainty out there right now.
A lot of noise.
And it's interesting. So I love music. And sometimes I'll go back and listen to some of these songs back from the 60s and the 70s, when I was born. And it's interesting that if you listened deep into those lyrics, the problems that we're having today and the challenges with, politicians and government, just everything today, those same words are coming out in music in the past, right? And then they found a way to solve that problem. And then we kind of fell back into that situation. The problem got solved, so it's just
cycles.
Yeah. And I think doing this for 23 years, we've seen a lot of folks that have some problems that maybe they feel are bigger than they actually are. And we've been able to solve a lot of those problems. So yeah, I love that. I love that quote. I worry about the solution because there's a good chance there's always a good solution for you.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you're worrying about the problem of how you're going to get ready for retirement, again, don't hesitate to reach out. Ask for any questions that might be on your mind. You can schedule a review. One really easy way to get in touch and dip your toe into that water is to order a copy of the book. The time is now. Get ready for retirement by reading this book. It's going to teach you about some of the essentials when it comes to planning for your financial future. It's a great primer or warm up into that financial planning world. You get a free copy of that book. Again, click the link in the description of today's show to get the book for free, and it'll walk you through from there. So just check the description or the show notes. You'll see the link, follow it from there, get a free book, and check that out today. Frank, thanks for the help on the episode today.
You guys fun. Yep.
We'll be next time on the Time Blueprint.
Goodbye, everybody.
Advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Creative One Wealth, LLC, and Oliver Asset Management are unaffiliated entities. Licensed insurance professional. Respond and learn how financial products, including life insurance and annuities, can be used in various planning strategies for retirement. The information contained herein is based on our understanding of current tax law. The tax and legislative information may be subject to change and different interpretations. We recommend that you seek professional tax advice for applicability to your personal situation.